Admiral Hyun-Ki stood in the command center, looking at the giant screen that showed space around Earth. His hands were behind his back, and his face was calm, but inside he felt worried. The screen showed 300 alien ships moving toward Earth. They were big ships, much bigger than anything humans had ever built. Dr. Soo-jin walked up to him. She carried a tablet with information about the aliens. Her voice was quiet when she spoke. The Velkari have destroyed 12 star systems in the past 6 months. They take people as slaves and strip mine the planets until nothing is left. Hyun-Ki nodded. He had read the reports. The Velkari were a race of tall, gray-skinned aliens who thought they were better than everyone else. They had been moving through space, taking over worlds one by one. Now they were coming for Earth. What do we know about their leader? Hyun-Ki asked. High Commander Thekmor. He has never lost a battle. The aliens we talked to before they died said he thinks humans are just smart animals. He calls us pest species that should be used for hard work only. Captain Min-ho entered the command center. He was young, but had proven himself in several small battles with alien raiders. His ship, the Defiance, was the newest and most advanced human warship. Even so, it was small compared to one Velkari cruiser. Admiral, my ship is ready for battle. Just give the word, Min-ho said. Hyun-Ki looked at the screen again. The alien fleet was still 2 days away, but their message had been clear. They wanted Earth to surrender now, or they would destroy every human city. They had given humans 24 hours to decide. No, Hyun-Ki said. We try talking first. Min-ho looked surprised. Sir, they have already said they will not negotiate. They only want our surrender. I know what they said. But we have something they do not expect. We will send them our own message. Dr. Soo-jin looked worried. Admiral, what are you planning? Hyun-Ki walked to the communication station. Lieutenant Yeon-soo was there, monitoring all the alien messages. She was very good at understanding alien languages and had been listening to the Velkari for weeks. Yeon-soo, open a channel to the Velkari fleet. I want to send a message on all frequencies so every ship can hear it. Yes, sir. Channel open. Hyun-Ki took a deep breath. Everyone in the command center stopped working and listened. This message would decide if there would be war or peace. To the Velkari fleet. This is Admiral Hyun-Ki of Earth Defense Command. You have entered our star system without permission. You have threatened our people. We are giving you one chance to leave peacefully. You have 72 hours to turn around and leave our system. If you do not leave, you will face the consequences. This is your only warning. He nodded to Yeon-soo, who closed the channel. The command center was very quiet. Everyone knew that no one had ever threatened the Velkari before and lived. They did not have to wait long for an answer. 15 minutes. Later, Yeon-soo's console lit up with an incoming message. Sir, the Velkari are responding. Put it on the main screen. The screen showed a tall alien with gray skin and black eyes. He wore a military uniform covered in medals. This was High Commander Thekmor. When he spoke, his voice was full of anger and amusement. Human insects! You dare to threaten the Velkari Empire? You are barely evolved animals playing with tools you do not understand. Your pathetic little ships are toys compared to our fleet. You have 1 hour to surrender, or we will burn your cities and take your survivors as slaves. Your children will work in our mines until they die, the alien commander laughed, showing sharp teeth. You cannot stop what is coming. I am sending my 9th fleet to destroy your outer colonies first. You will watch your people die, and then you will beg for mercy. But there will be no mercy for insects who dare to challenge their betters. The message ended. The command center was quiet again, but this time it was the quiet of anger, not fear. Captain Min-ho stepped forward. Admiral, let me take the Defiance. And, no. Hyun-Ki's voice was firm. We wait. But sir, they are going to attack the Mars colonies. Thousands of people live there. I know. And they will be safe. Dr. Su-jin looked confused. How can you be sure? Hyun-ki walked to his private office next to the command center. Dr. Su-jin and Captain Minho followed him. When the door closed, Hyun-ki went to his safe and entered a long code. Inside was a single file marked with symbols none of them had seen before. 3 years ago, we found something in deep space. Something that changed everything. Only 12 people on Earth know about it. Today, you become 2 of them. He opened the file. Inside were pictures of massive ships, far larger than anything the Valkyrie had. But these ships were dead, floating in the cold space between galaxies. These ships belonged to a race called the Harbingers. They fought a war against something much worse than the Valkyrie. They won, but it cost them everything. Before they died, they left us a gift. Dr. Su-jin looked at the pictures. What kind of gift? Technology, weapons, and a warning. They knew that someday others would come to take what they had protected. They left us the tools to continue their work. Captain Minho stared at the pictures. You mean we have alien technology? Yes. For 3 years, our best scientists have been studying it. Colonel Boram has been training special forces to use it. The Valkyrie think they are fighting helpless humans. They are wrong. Hyun-ki put the file away. In 60 hours, the Valkyrie 9th Fleet will reach our outer colonies. They will find nothing there. The colonists have already been moved to safe places, and the 9th Fleet will learn why the Harbingers chose to trust us. They returned to the command center. On the screen, they could see the Valkyrie fleet had split up. 50 ships were moving faster toward Mars. These were the 9th Fleet. The rest continued toward Earth at a slower pace. Lieutenant Yeon-su was listening to alien radio chatter. Sir, the Valkyrie are very confident. They are talking about how easy this battle will be. High Commander Thek-Mor is personally leading the 9th Fleet. He wants to make an example of us. Hyun-ki smiled for the first time in days. Good. Let him come. The Harbingers taught us that the greatest victories come from patience and preparation. The Valkyrie will learn this lesson soon. As the hours passed, the 9th Fleet moved closer to Mars. The main Valkyrie force was still 2 days behind. Everything was going exactly as Hyun-ki had planned. Colonel Boram called from the secret base hidden under Earth's moon. Admiral, Project Prometheus is ready. All teams are in position. Understood. Wait for my signal. Dr. Su-jin watched the alien ships getting closer. Are you sure this will work? The Harbingers fought against enemies that could destroy entire star systems with a thought. The Valkyrie are dangerous, but they are not gods. They are about to learn what happens when you ignore Earth's final ultimatum. 72 hours had passed since Admiral Hyun-ki gave the Valkyrie their warning. The alien 9th Fleet was now close to Mars. High Commander Thek-Mor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds. He was excited to begin the attack on the human colonies. Report, he commanded his bridge crew. Commander Jae-won looked at his screens. Sir, we are now in range of the human outer colonies. Mars colony has about 50,000 humans. The asteroid mining stations have another 20,000. They show no signs of evacuation. Thek-Mor laughed. Of course not. These insects do not believe we will really attack. They think their pathetic ultimatum scared us. Today they learn the price of challenging the Valkyrie Empire. On Earth, Colonel Boram sat in a hidden control room deep under the moon's surface. Around her, dozens of technicians worked at stations covered with screens and controls that looked nothing like normal human technology. The equipment hummed with strange energy, and the air itself seemed to vibrate. Prometheus control to Earth. Command! Boram spoke into her headset. All systems are ready. Waiting for your order, Admiral. In Earth's command center, Admiral Hyun-ki watched the Valkyrie ships on his main screen. They were now entering the asteroid belt around Mars. Soon they would be in the perfect position. Dr. Su-jin stood beside him. The colonists are all safe? Yes, we moved them to the hidden stations 3 weeks ago. The colonies on Mars are empty now, but the Velkari cannot tell from this distance. Their sensors will show normal life signs until they get much closer. Lieutenant Yeon-su was listening to the alien communications. Sir, High Commander Thekmore is giving orders to begin the attack. He wants to make it slow and painful to scare us. Hyun-ki nodded. Boram, begin Phase 1. Yes, sir. Initiating Prometheus Protocol. Deep under the moon, massive machines came to life. They had been built using technology from the dead Harbinger ships. Human scientists did not fully understand how they worked, but they knew what they could do. The machines could reach across space and touch reality itself. High Commander Thekmore was enjoying the moment. Begin bombardment of the human colonies. I want them to suffer before they die. Yes, sir, Commander Jaewon replied. But when he tried to give the order to his weapons teams, something strange happened. His voice made no sound. He tried again, but still nothing. All around the bridge, the crew began pointing at their screens. The stars outside were changing. They were becoming brighter, then dimmer, then brighter again. The colors were wrong. Space itself looked strange. What is happening? Thekmore demanded. Jaewon checked his instruments. Sir, I do not understand. Our sensors are showing impossible readings. It looks like space is bending around us. Suddenly, everything went white. The light was so bright that even with their eyes closed, the crew could see it. Then, just as quickly, everything went black. When the light returned, they were somewhere else. The Ninth Fleet found themselves floating in empty space. There were no stars, no planets, no asteroids. Just perfect blackness in every direction, except for a strange, dim glow that seemed to come from nowhere. Report! Thekmore shouted. Jaewon was frantically checking his controls. Sir, I cannot get a reading on our location. Our navigation systems show nothing. It is like we are nowhere. That is impossible. Contact the main fleet. I have been trying, sir. There is no response. No radio signals, no quantum communications, nothing. It is like the rest of our fleet does not exist. On the other ships of the Ninth Fleet, similar scenes were playing out. 50 ships and 200,000 Velkari soldiers found themselves completely alone in an empty universe. Back in normal space, the main Velkari fleet continued toward Earth. They had no idea that anything had happened to the Ninth Fleet. Commander, Yujin was monitoring communications from the flagship Dominion when she noticed something wrong. High Commander, we have lost contact with the Ninth Fleet. The main fleet's leader, Sub-Commander Keth Val, was not worried. Probably just communication problems. The humans might be jamming our signals. Sir, it has been 6 hours since their last report. That was when they entered the asteroid belt. Now Keth Val was interested. Send scout ships to investigate. 3 small, fast ships broke away from the main fleet and headed toward Mars. They reached the asteroid belt quickly and began scanning. What they found made no sense. Sir, the lead scout reported, there is no sign of the Ninth Fleet. No debris, no energy signatures, no trace of any battle. It is like they were never here. That is impossible. Scan again. We have scanned everything twice, sir. The Ninth Fleet is simply gone. Keth Val felt cold fear in his stomach. In all the history of the Velkari Empire, an entire fleet had never just disappeared. Continue toward the human colonies. Look for any clues. The scout ships approached Mars. They found the colonies exactly where they expected them to be. But when they scanned for life signs, they found something that made their fear even worse. Sir, the colonies are empty. They look normal from outside, but there are no humans anywhere. It is like everyone just vanished. Back on Earth, Admiral Hyun-ki was satisfied with the results. Phase 1 complete. The Ninth Fleet has been moved to the pocket dimension. How long can they survive there? Dr. Sujin checked the reports from the scientists. The air and power on their ships will last about 10 years. But time moves differently there. What feels like 10 years to them will only be a few hours to us. And they cannot escape? No, the pocket dimension is completely cut off from normal space. They are trapped there until we choose to release them. Colonel Boram's voice came through the communications. Admiral, the Harbinger technology is working perfectly. The main Velkari fleet still has no idea what happened to their advance force. Lieutenant, Yansu was monitoring the alien communications. Sir, the main fleet is very confused. They are sending more scouts to look for the 9th Fleet. Their leaders are starting to argue about what to do. Hyun-Ki watched the alien fleet on his screen. They were still coming toward Earth, but more slowly now. They were being careful. Good. Fear makes them careless. Dr. Sujin, prepare the false signals. I want the Velkari to think they found traces of their missing ships. What kind of traces? Make it look like the 9th Fleet was destroyed by some kind of new human weapon, something they do not understand. Let them worry about what else we might have. Captain Min-ho entered the command center. Admiral, my ship is still ready for battle. Should we engage the scouts? Not yet. Let them search. Let them find nothing. When they return to their fleet with no answers, it will make the main force even more afraid. As the hours passed, the Velkari scouts continued searching the asteroid belt. They found nothing because there was nothing to find. The 9th Fleet was not destroyed. It was not hiding. It was simply somewhere else entirely, in a place where the normal rules of space and time did not work. In the pocket dimension, High Commander Thekmor was beginning to understand that something terrible had happened. His ship's computers could not figure out where they were. The stars were gone. Even worse, their instruments showed that time itself was moving strangely. How long have we been here? He asked Jaewon. According to our clocks, sir, it has been 12 hours, but it feels like much longer. Thekmor looked out at the empty space around his fleet. For the first time in his long military career, he felt truly afraid. The humans had done something impossible. They had made 50 warships disappear without a trace. But the worst part was not knowing how they had done it, or if they could do it again. Back in normal space, the main Velkari fleet received the report from their scouts. Sub-Commander Keth Val stared at the message in disbelief. The 9th Fleet is gone. No wreckage, no survivors, no evidence of what happened. The human colonies are empty too. For the first time since beginning their conquest of human space, the Velkari felt uncertain. They had always won through superior force and numbers. But how do you fight an enemy that can make your ships disappear? Should we continue the attack? Commander Eugene asked. Keth Val looked at the image of Earth on his screen. The small blue planet looked so harmless, but it had just swallowed 50 of his best ships without leaving a trace. Yes, he said, but his voice was not as confident as before. But we approach carefully, very carefully. The main Velkari fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system 3 days later. Sub-Commander Keth Val had taken command after High Commander Thekmor disappeared with the 9th Fleet. He was careful and smart, but he was also angry and confused. 250 alien warships spread out in attack formation. Each ship was 3 times larger than the biggest human vessel. Their weapons could destroy cities from space. Their shields could stop nuclear explosions. By every measure that mattered, the Velkari should win this battle easily. But the 9th Fleet had also been powerful, and now it was gone. Open communications with the human planet, Keth Val ordered. Commander Eugene worked at her station. Channel open, sir. Humans of Earth. I am Sub-Commander Keth Val of the Velkari Empire. You will explain what happened to our 9th Fleet. Immediately, or we will destroy your planet. The response came quickly. Admiral Hyun-Ki's voice was calm and steady. Sub-Commander Keth Val, this is Admiral Hyun-Ki. What 9th Fleet? The alien bridge went silent. Several crew members looked at each other with surprise and growing fear. "Do not play games with me, human! High Commander Thekmore led 50 ships to destroy your outer colonies. They have disappeared. Where are they?" "I have no knowledge of any missing Velkari ships. Perhaps they got lost?" Kethval's hands tightened into fists. "You dare mock the Velkari Empire? We know you are responsible. Tell us how you destroyed our ships, or suffer the consequences. We gave you 72 hours to leave our system. You ignored our warning. What happens next is your choice." The communication ended. Kethval stared at the main screen showing Earth. The planet looked peaceful and defenseless, but looks could be lies. "Begin full system scan. I want every asteroid, every space station, every piece of debris examined. The humans must have new weapons. Find them." For 6 hours, the Velkari fleet searched the entire solar system. Their sensors were very advanced and could detect the smallest objects from great distances. They found human space stations and ships, but nothing that could threaten a major fleet. "Sir," Eugene reported, "our scans show only 12 human warships in the entire system. The largest is about the size of one of our escort vessels. There are no large weapons platforms, no hidden bases, no technology we do not understand." "That is impossible. They must be hiding something." On Earth, Captain Subin was piloting her reconnaissance ship, Silent Running, through the asteroid belt. Her job was to watch the alien fleet and report on their movements. Her ship was small and used advanced stealth technology that made it nearly invisible. "Earth Command, this is Silent Running. The Velkari are getting frustrated. They have been scanning for hours and finding nothing. I can hear their radio chatter. They are confused and starting to argue with each other." Admiral Hyun-Ki listened to the report. "Good. Confusion is our ally. Subin, stay hidden and keep watching." "Yes, sir." Dr. Soo-jin was working at her station, monitoring the alien fleet's communications. She could understand most of what they were saying, and what she heard made her smile. "Admiral, the Velkari are genuinely puzzled. Some of their officers think the Ninth Fleet ran away. Others believe we have some kind of super weapon that leaves no trace. Their leader is trying to keep them focused, but morale is dropping." "How long before they attack?" "Based on their behavior patterns, I estimate 6 hours. They are too proud to retreat without a fight, but too scared to attack immediately." Hyun-Ki nodded. "Colonel Bo-Ram, prepare for Phase 2, and contact Major Won-shik. Tell him his squadron is cleared for action." Under the moon's surface, Colonel Bo-Ram was checking the status of the Harbinger technology. "Yes, sir." Phase 2. Systems are online. Major Won-shik's Phantom Squadron is ready for launch. Major Won-shik was waiting in the pilot-ready room with 11 other pilots. They were the best fighters Earth had, and they flew ships that used technology no human fully understood. The Phantom fighters looked normal from outside, but they could do things that seemed impossible. "Phantom Squadron, this is Earth Command. You are cleared for launch. Remember, you are not trying to destroy the entire fleet. Your job is to show them they cannot win." "Understood, Command. Phantom Squadron launching now." 12 small fighter ships left their hidden base and headed toward the Velkari fleet. They were too small for the alien sensors to detect at long range, so they got close before being spotted. Kethval was studying star charts when alarms began sounding throughout his ship. "Sir, we have incoming fighters. 12 small ships approaching at high speed." "Only 12? Are the humans insane?" "Launch all fighters and destroy them quickly." 100 Velkari fighter ships launched from the main fleet. Each one was larger and more heavily armed than the human Phantoms. The aliens expected an easy victory. They were wrong. Major Won-shik led his squadron straight at the alien fighters. Just before the two groups met, something impossible happened. The Phantom fighters seemed to flicker and fade, becoming see-through, like ghosts. The Velkari fighters fired their weapons, but the energy beams passed right through the human ships without causing any damage. The Phantoms returned fire with weapons that somehow stayed solid even when their ships were not. What is happening? Keth Val demanded. Sir, the human fighters are phasing in and out of normal space. Our weapons cannot hit them when they are phased, but their weapons can still hit us. That is impossible. Yes, sir, but it is happening anyway. In the first minute of battle, the Phantoms destroyed 20 Velkari fighters without taking any damage. The alien pilots were skilled and brave, but they could not fight enemies they could not touch. Major Wan Shik smiled as he watched his squadron work. The Harbinger technology allowed their ships to exist partially in normal space and partially in the pocket dimension. They could become solid to attack, then become ghosts to avoid being hit. Phantom 2, target the cruiser on the left. Phantom 3, take the destroyer on the right. Remember, we want to damage them, not destroy them. The 12 human fighters split up and began attacking the much larger Velkari warships. They flew through the alien shields like the shields were not there, then became solid long enough to fire at the ship's engines and weapons. Within an hour, the Phantoms had damaged 15 major warships and destroyed 40 fighters. The Velkari had not managed to hit a single human ship. Keth Val watched in horror as his powerful fleet was picked apart by a handful of small fighters. Retreat to minimum safe distance. All ships fall back. Sir, should we try to capture one of the human fighters for study? With what? Our weapons cannot touch them, and our fighters cannot catch them. Fall back now. The Velkari fleet pulled back to the edge of the solar system. They had come to conquer Earth, but now they were running from 12 small ships. Admiral Hyun Ki watched the alien retreat on his main screen. Phantom Squadron, return to base. Well done. Thank you, sir. That was almost too easy. Dr. Su-Jin was analyzing the data from the battle. Admiral, the Velkari are very shaken. They have never seen technology like ours. Some of their ships are requesting permission to leave the system entirely. What about their leader? Keth Val is trying to hold them together, but he is scared too. They know they cannot fight something they cannot hit. Captain Minho had watched the entire battle from his ship's bridge. Admiral, my conventional weapons seem useless now. Should I retrofit the Defiance with Harbinger technology? Not yet. We need to keep some of our capabilities secret. The Velkari still do not understand what they are facing. Lieutenant Yeon-Su was monitoring alien communications when she heard something that made her excited. Sir, the Velkari are trying to call for reinforcements, but their long-range communications are not working properly. Why not? The pocket dimension technology seems to interfere with their quantum communication systems. They cannot send messages to their home worlds. Hyun-Ki smiled. This was even better than he had hoped. So they are trapped here until they decide to leave on their own. Yes, sir. And based on what I am hearing, some of their officers want to leave right now. For the first time since the crisis began, Admiral Hyun-Ki felt truly confident. The Harbinger technology was working better than anyone had expected. The Velkari had come to Earth expecting to fight primitive humans with simple weapons. Instead, they found an enemy that could disappear their fleets and phase through their defenses. But the battle was not over yet. The Velkari were proud and stubborn. Even scared and confused, they might still try to destroy Earth rather than admit defeat. Dr. Su-Jin, prepare for Phase 3. It is time to show them what happened to their 9th Fleet. Sub-Commander Keth Val stood in his command center, looking at reports of damaged ships and confused officers. Half of his fleet was requesting permission to retreat. The other half wanted to attack Earth with everything they had, even if it meant destroying the planet completely. Sir, Commander Yu-Jin said carefully, perhaps we should consider a tactical withdrawal. We can return with more ships and better preparation. No! Keth Val slammed his fist on the control panel. The Velkari Empire does not run from inferior species. If we cannot conquer these humans, we will make sure no one else can either. He turned to his weapons officer. Prepare the planet-killer missiles. If we cannot rule Earth, we will destroy it. Sir, are you certain? Once we fire those weapons, there is no way to stop them. I am certain. These humans have humiliated us long enough. The Velkari fleet began preparing their most powerful weapons. Planet-killer missiles were designed to crack a world's surface and boil away its atmosphere. They had used them before on worlds that refused to surrender. On Earth, Lieutenant Yun Su detected the weapons charging. Admiral, the Velkari are preparing planet-killer missiles. They plan to destroy Earth completely. Admiral Hyun Ki had expected this. Proud species often chose destruction over defeat. How long until they fire? 20 minutes, sir. Good. That gives us time to show them the truth. Dr. Sujin, activate the revelation protocol. Dr. Sujin's fingers moved quickly over her controls. Deep in space, ancient machines came to life. These were not human machines or even Harbinger. Machines. They were something much older, left behind by the first civilization to fight the real enemy. The space around Earth began to shimmer and change. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist. Then slowly, Earth began to fade. The Velkari watched in shock as the planet they were about to destroy became transparent like glass. They could see through it to the stars behind, but Earth was still. There! They could still detect its gravity and magnetic field. What is happening? Kethval demanded. Sir, the planet is phasing. It is moving between dimensions, like their fighter ships did. That is impossible. Nothing that large can phase. Yes, sir, but it is happening. Kethval ordered his weapons officer to fire anyway. Launch the planet killers now! 6 massive missiles launched from the Velkari fleet. Each one carried enough power to destroy a moon. They streaked toward Earth at incredible speed. The missiles hit Earth's atmosphere and passed right through it like it was empty space. They continued through the planet's core and out the other side, exploding harmlessly in space beyond. Earth shimmered again and became solid once more, completely unharmed. Admiral Hyun Ki opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. Subcommander, Kethval, you just tried to destroy our planet. That was unwise. How? Kethval's voice was shaking. How is this possible? You want to know what happened to your 9th Fleet? I will show you. On Earth, Professor Dongmin was working in the secret laboratory that studied Harbinger technology. He had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. Finally, he could tell the truth about what humanity had found in deep space. Admiral, beginning full revelation sequence. All Velkari ships will be able to see this. Space around the alien. Fleet began to change. Stars moved and twisted. New images appeared in the darkness. The Velkari saw massive ships, far larger than anything they had ever built. These ships were ancient and beautiful, but also dead and empty. 3 years ago, Admiral Hyun Ki's voice came over the alien communication systems. Our deep space explorers found these ships floating in the void between galaxies. They belonged to a race called the Harbingers. The images showed humans in spacesuits exploring the dead ships. The Harbinger vessels were so large that human cities could fit inside them, but they were all empty, their crews long dead. The Harbingers fought a war against something far worse than your empire. They called it the Devourer. It came from beyond our galaxy, consuming entire star systems and turning living worlds into empty rocks. New images appeared. These showed star charts with thousands of systems marked in red. Each red mark was a world that had been completely destroyed. The Harbingers won their war, but it cost them everything. Before they died, they left behind a warning and a gift. They knew that someday the Devourer would return. They wanted someone to be ready. Captain Ju Hyun had been the first human to explore the Harbinger ships. She remembered finding the central chamber where the alien records were stored. The Harbingers had left detailed instructions about their technology and their war. The gift was not just weapons, Admiral Hyun Ki continued. It was the ability to exist outside normal space and time, to phase between dimensions, to move entire fleets and planets to places where they would be safe. The images changed again. Now they showed the pocket dimension where the Ninth Fleet was trapped. 50 Velkari ships floated in empty space, their crews slowly dying as their supplies ran out. Your Ninth Fleet is not destroyed. They are somewhere else. In that place, time moves differently. They have been there for what feels like years to them, but only hours to us. They are watching their ships break down, and their friends grow old and die. Sub-Commander Keth Val stared at the images in horror. He could see High Commander Thekmore on the bridge of his flagship, but Thekmore looked much older now. His proud uniform was dirty and torn. His crew looked sick and tired. Every member of your advanced fleet has experienced a full lifetime of isolation and fear. They have watched each other die of old age while trapped in a place where nothing works properly and no rescue can come. "You are lying," Keth Val whispered, but his voice had no strength. "I am not lying. This is the power the Harbingers left us. We are not just defending Earth anymore. We are the new guardians of this galaxy." Commander Yu Jin was checking her instruments with shaking hands. "Sir, the readings are impossible. The human technology is more advanced than anything in our database. It is like they have moved beyond the normal laws of physics." Admiral Hyun Ki's voice continued, calm and terrible. "For 3 years, we have been preparing for this day. We knew that conquerors would come. The Harbingers told us they would. You are not the first, and you will not be the last." The space around the Velkari fleet began to shimmer, just like it had around Earth. Some of the alien ships started to become transparent. You ignored our warning. You threatened our people. You tried to destroy our planet. Now you will join your Ninth Fleet in the place between dimensions. "Wait!" Keth Val shouted into his communicator. "We surrender! We will leave your system!" It is too late for surrender. You had your chance to leave peacefully. More Velkari ships began to fade from normal space. The crews could feel reality changing around them. The stars looked wrong. Time felt slow and heavy. "Please," Keth Val begged. "We did not know. We thought you were just another primitive species." The Harbingers thought the same thing about the Devourer at first. They learned that in this universe, appearance can be very deceiving. Dr. Su Jin watched her instruments as more alien ships phased into the pocket dimension. "Admiral, we are moving the entire fleet. It will take about an hour to complete the transfer." "Good. Let them have time to think about what they have done." As his ship began to fade from reality, Sub-Commander Keth Val made one last, desperate transmission. "What do you want? What can we do to fix this?" Admiral Hyun Ki's answer was simple and final. "You can learn. Learn that the age of easy conquest is over. Learn that some species fight back. Learn that the galaxy has new guardians now. What about our people? What about our empire? Your empire will receive a message from us. They will be told that any ships entering human space will suffer the same fate as yours. They can choose to ignore this warning, just as you did." The last of the Velkari ships flickered and vanished from normal space. The solar system was peaceful again, with only human vessels remaining. Colonel Boram reported from her control center. "Admiral, all alien ships have been successfully transferred to the pocket dimension. The fleet is contained." "Excellent work. How long can they survive there?" "With careful rationing, about 10 years. But subjective time means they will experience much longer." Admiral Hyun Ki looked at Earth on his main screen. The planet was beautiful and blue and safe, but he knew this was only the beginning. The Harbingers had warned that worse things were coming. Things that would make the Velkari look like children playing with toys. "Dr. Su Jin, send a message to all human colonies. Tell them Phase 1 is complete. It is time to begin Phase 2. Preparations." "What is Phase 2, sir?" "Getting ready for the real war. The Velkari were just practice." In the pocket dimension, Sub-Commander Kethval sat in his command chair, staring at screens that showed nothing but empty darkness. It had been 3 months since his fleet arrived in this terrible place, but his instruments said only 6 hours had passed in the real universe. His crew was beginning to break down. Some had stopped eating. Others talked to themselves constantly. The ship's doctor reported that many were showing signs of severe mental stress. Commander Yu Jin approached him carefully. She looked much older than she had when they first arrived. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet." "Put it through." Admiral Hyun Ki's voice filled the bridge. "Sub-Commander Kethval, you have been in the pocket dimension for 3 months. Are you ready to listen now?" "Yes," Kethval said quietly. All his pride and anger were gone. "We are ready to listen." "Good. I am going to tell you exactly what happened to your 9th Fleet, and what will happen to you if you continue to threaten humanity." The main screen showed images of the 9th Fleet's final moments. High Commander Thek Moore looked ancient and broken. Most of his crew were dead. The survivors moved like ghosts through ships that were falling apart. Your advance fleet spent 10 years in isolation. They watched their friends die of old age and despair. High Commander Thek Moore himself died just 2 days ago, still asking the same question over and over. "What question?" Kethval whispered. He kept asking what happened to the 9th Fleet. Even at the end, he could not understand how 50 warships had simply vanished. Yu Jin covered her face with her hands. She had served with Thek Moore for 20 years. He had been a good commander and a decent person, despite his pride. "The answer is simple," Admiral Hyun Ki continued. "Your fleet met a civilization that had moved beyond the normal rules of war. We do not fight like the old races. We do not need to destroy your ships or kill your crews. We can simply make you disappear." "Please," Kethval begged, "let us go home. We promise never to threaten humanity again. I know you will never threaten us again, but that is not enough anymore." The screen changed to show star charts of the local galaxy. Dozens of star systems were marked with red symbols. The Harbingers left us more than just defensive technology. They left us responsibility. For 3 years, we have been watching this galaxy. We have seen what the Velkari Empire does to conquered worlds. We have seen the slave camps and the strip-mined planets. Admiral Hyun Ki's voice became harder. "We have decided that this cannot continue." "What do you mean?" "We mean that the age of the Velkari Empire is over. Your government will receive a message from us very soon. They will be told to free all their slaves and stop their conquest campaigns. If they refuse, they will learn what happened to their missing fleets." Kethval felt a cold fear worse than anything he had experienced in the pocket dimension. "You cannot fight our entire empire. We have thousands of ships across hundreds of star systems." "Yes, we can. Watch." The screen showed a new image. It was a massive Velkari military base orbiting the Empire's capital world. As they watched, the entire base simply faded away, becoming transparent and then disappearing completely. That base contained 50,000 soldiers and the Empire's most advanced weapons. It is now in a pocket dimension similar to this one. Your government has already noticed that it is missing. "How?" Yu Jin asked in shock. "That base is 300 light-years from Earth. Distance means nothing to Harbinger technology. We can reach anywhere in the galaxy instantly. Your Empire's fleets are powerful, but they cannot fight an enemy they cannot touch." Admiral Hyun Ki paused to let this sink in. "Sub-Commander Kethval, I am going to give you a choice. You can remain in the pocket dimension with your fleet, or you can return to normal space to carry a message to your people." "What message?" "That the galaxy has new guardians now. That the time of easy conquest is over. That any empire that continues to enslave and destroy will face the same fate as your fleets." Kethval looked around his bridge at his exhausted, broken crew. 3 months in this place had taught them what real helplessness felt like. What if we deliver your message and our government refuses to listen? Then your entire empire will join you in places like this. Every Velkari ship, every military base, every government facility will simply disappear. Your people will find themselves alone on their home worlds with no way to travel between the stars. That would mean the end of our civilization. Yes, just like you ended the civilizations of dozens of other species. The communication went silent for several minutes. Keth Val thought about all the worlds his people had conquered, all the slaves they had taken, all the cities they had burned. For the first time, he wondered if they deserved what was happening to them. "Admiral," he said finally, "if we agree to carry your message, what guarantee do we have that you will release us?" "You have my word. But understand this. If your empire ignores our warning, you will be the first to return to the pocket dimension. And next time, you will not be alone. Your families, your friends, everyone you care about will join you." Commander Yujin stepped forward. "Sir, what about the species we have enslaved? What will happen to them?" "They will be freed. We are already working with resistance groups on conquered worlds. Some of your former slaves are quite eager to help us locate Velkari military targets." "You have been planning this for 3 years?" "Yes. The Harbingers warned us that conquest empires would always exist. They told us that someone needed to stop them. We accepted that responsibility." Keth Val made his decision. "We will carry your message. But please, show mercy to our people. Not all Velkari are conquerors. Many are just following orders." "I know. That is why we are offering this choice instead of simply making your entire species disappear. But understand, this is the only warning your empire will receive." The space around Keth Val's ship began to change. The empty darkness was replaced by normal space filled with stars. His fleet was back in the real universe, but they were not in Earth's solar system anymore. "Where are we?" Yujin asked, checking her instruments. "You are 1 light year from your empire's nearest military base. Your communication systems have been restored. You can contact your government immediately." Admiral Hyun Ki's voice came through the speakers one last time. "Subcommander Keth Val, you asked what happened to the 9th Fleet. Now you know. They met humanity when humanity was still being gentle. Your empire's response to our message will determine whether future encounters are as merciful." "Admiral, wait. What about the Devourer you mentioned? The enemy the Harbingers fought?" "Long-range sensors have detected energy signatures at the edge of the galaxy. Something ancient and hungry is stirring in the void between stars. When it comes, this galaxy will need to be united to survive." "You mean we might have to fight together?" "Perhaps. If your empire chooses to change its ways. If it chooses to become something better than a collection of conquerors and slavers." The communication ended. Keth Val's fleet was alone in space, 1 light year from home. For the first time in Velkari history, their mighty military had been defeated not by superior force, but by superior technology and will. "Sir," Yujin said quietly, "what are we going to tell the High Command?" Keth Val looked at the stars around them. They looked the same as always, but he knew the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had moved beyond being just another species to conquer. They had become something new and dangerous. "We tell them the truth. We tell them that we found an enemy we cannot defeat. And we tell them that their choice is simple: change or disappear." Do you think they will listen? I do not know. But I hope so, because if they do not, the Velkari Empire will become just another cautionary tale that humanity tells to the next would-be conquerors. As his fleet headed home, Keth Val wondered what his people would do with the warning they carried. Would they choose to become something better? Or would they choose pride over survival? He hoped they would choose wisely, because he had seen what happened to those who did not. 6 months after the Velkari fleet returned home, Admiral Hyun Ki stood in the same command center where this had all begun. But everything was different now. The screens showed not just Earth's solar system, but star maps covering half the galaxy. Dr. Su-Jin approached with a report in her hands. "Admiral, we have received responses from 17 different species. Word is spreading about what happened to the Velkari." "What kind of responses?" "Mixed. Some are curious, some are grateful, a few are terrified. The Zoraki Federation wants to meet with us. They were one of the first species the Velkari enslaved." Hyun-Ki nodded. "And the Velkari themselves?" "That is the interesting part. Sub-Commander Kethval delivered the message exactly as promised. The Velkari High Command spent 3 months debating what to do." "What did they decide?" Dr. Su-Jin smiled. "They chose to change. They have begun freeing slaves and withdrawing from conquered worlds. It seems that losing 2 entire fleets with no way to fight back convinced them that their old ways were too dangerous." Lieutenant Yeon-Su looked up from her communication station. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Valkyrie capital. It is Sub-Commander Kethval. Put him through." The main screen showed Kethval's face. He looked healthier than he had in the pocket dimension, but there was a new humility in his eyes. "Admiral Hyun-Ki, I bring greetings from the Velkari Republic." "Republic? Not Empire?" "The High Command decided that empires were too dangerous in a galaxy with human guardians. We have restructured our government and begun the process of making amends for our past actions." "That is wise of you." "Admiral, I have a request. Our long-range sensors have detected the same energy signatures you mentioned. The ancient enemy is moving closer to our galaxy. We would like to offer our assistance in preparing defenses." Hyun-Ki considered this. "You want to help us fight the Devourer?" "Yes. We have learned that there are things in this universe far worse than losing. A war. Losing everything is worse." "Very well. Send a delegation to Earth. We will begin planning together." Captain Minho entered the command center as the communication ended. His ship, the Defiance, had been upgraded with Harbinger technology and now served as the flagship of Earth's new Guardian fleet. "Admiral, the deep space monitoring stations are reporting increased activity at the galactic edge. Whatever is coming, it will be here within 2 years." "Are our preparations on schedule?" "Yes, sir. We now have Guardian bases in 47 star systems. Most of the major species have agreed to work with us. Even the Thorak clans have stopped their raiding and joined the alliance." Dr. Su-Jin checked her reports. "The freed slave populations are proving very helpful. They know their former master's technology and are eager to help build defenses. Some of their suggestions for using Harbinger technology have been quite clever." Professor Dong-min's voice came through the communication system from his research lab. "Admiral, I have news about the Harbinger archives. We have found records of the last Devourer War. The good news is that it can be defeated. The bad news is what it cost the Harbingers to win. What did it cost them? Everything. They had to sacrifice their entire civilization to stop it, but they left us better tools and better knowledge. We might be able to do what they could not. Win without destroying ourselves," Colonel Boram reported from the hidden base under Earth's moon. "Admiral, the new Guardian ships are coming online ahead of schedule. We now have 50 vessels that can phase between dimensions. Each one is more powerful than an entire Velkari fleet." "Excellent. What about training?" "Major Wanshik has been working with pilots from 12 different species. It turns out that dimensional combat requires a certain mindset that some species have naturally. The Zoraki are particularly good at it." Admiral Hyun-Ki walked to the window that looked out at Earth. The planet looked peaceful, but he knew that appearances were deceiving. Hidden beneath the surface and in secret bases throughout the system, humanity was building the greatest military force the galaxy had ever seen. "Dr. Su-Jin, what is the status of the dimensional pocket network?" "We now have 7 pocket dimensions, connected to our reality. If the worst happens, we can evacuate the populations of entire star systems into safe spaces where the Devourer cannot reach them." "How many people can we save?" Currently, about 50 billion. We are working to expand that capacity. Captain Subin's voice came through the communication system. She was now commanding a long-range reconnaissance ship that patrolled the spaces between galaxies. Admiral, this is Silent Running. I have visual contact with the Devourer's advanced scouts. They are definitely coming this way, and they are bigger than anything in the Harbinger records. How much bigger? Sir, each scout ship is the size of a small moon. I count at least 100 of them, and they are just the advance force. Admiral Hyun-Ki felt a familiar chill. The Harbingers had warned that the Devourer would return stronger than before. It seemed they were right. All ships, fall back to the defensive perimeter. Do not engage. We need to learn as much as possible before the real fighting begins. Lieutenant Yeon-Su was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Admiral, word of the approaching threat is spreading. More species are asking to join the alliance. Even some former enemies of humanity want to work together. Good. We will need everyone. Sir, there is one more thing. The artificial intelligence network the Harbingers left behind has activated itself. It says it has been waiting for this moment. What does it want? To help, sir. It says the final protocols are now available to us. Dr. Su-Jin looked excited. Admiral, if the Harbinger AI is offering their final protocols, it means we have access to their most advanced technology. Things they held back until the real threat appeared. What kind of things? Weapons that can destroy entire fleets instantly, shields that can protect star systems, the ability to move planets to safety, but also things more dangerous, the power to reshape reality itself. Admiral Hyun-Ki understood the implications. With that much power, humanity could become the very thing they were fighting against. They could become conquerors themselves. Dr. Su-Jin, establish contact with the Harbinger AI. Tell it we accept the final protocols, but with conditions. We will use this technology only to defend, never to conquer. Yes, sir. And Dr. Su-Jin, begin recording everything. Future generations need to know how we made our choices. They need to understand that great power requires great responsibility. As the months passed, the galaxy prepared for the greatest war in its history. Species that had been enemies for centuries worked together to build defenses. Ancient technologies were combined with new ideas. Most importantly, the galaxy learned to work as one people instead of many separate empires. Admiral Hyun-Ki often thought about the conversation he had with Sub-Commander Keth Val. The alien had asked what happened to the Ninth Fleet, and Hyun-Ki had shown him the answer. But now he understood that the question was bigger than one missing fleet. What happened to any civilization that chose conquest over cooperation? What happened to species that believed strength meant taking what others had built? The answer was simple. They met something stronger. They met someone who had learned that true strength came from protecting others, not from destroying them. The Devourer was coming. It would test everything humanity and their allies had built. But Admiral Hyun-Ki was no longer afraid. The galaxy had guardians now, and guardians did not abandon their posts no matter how dark the enemy or how high the cost. When the final battle came, the galaxy would be ready, and if they won, future generations would never again have to ask what happened to the fleets that chose conquest over peace. They would know the answer. They met humanity, and humanity said no.